Hello and welcome to the Dead Air Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka, and you are Dare to Dudes Nation. Thank you for listening. We are here to fill the void. And today's void is another creepy case file investigation in our Bad Juju series.
Yeah, welcome Dead Air Dudes Nation, and yeah, this is going to be another foray into our Bad Juju series. This time we're going to go into the Chicago Ripper Crew, or the Ripper Crew, as it's commonly referred to, among other names. But that's what they're known as: the Ripper Crew, the Chicago Rippers, the Chicago Ripper Crew, so on and so forth. Now, in the 80s, you had these four individuals who terrorized the the streets of Chicago as they were abducting and kidnapping and mutilating and ultimately killing women. You know, so
With some perspective, in most major cities in the 70s and 80s, crime was pretty rampant. And I think I could say that with total confidence. And unlike today, where there's virtually a camera in every street corner, gas station, bodega, traffic light, whatever, there weren't cameras in that sense at all.
no,
Streets were poorly lit. The economy was pretty bad to the point that you didn't have that many cops. You don't have cell phones at the ready to call whenever something's happening. So I just want maybe the younger generation to keep those things in mind as how does such a, can we call them a cult following?
yeah, they were a satanic cult. They were a satanic
Yeah,
cult slash
cannibal.
organized crime group. They were cannibals. They were rapists. They were necrophiles. They were a bunch of serial killers. They would they had the whole package. I mean, and if they wasn't so freaking stupid, I mean, who knows if they would have even done even worse things. You know what I mean, or more things. I mean,
So let's start from the very beginnings. How these individuals meet? Were they friends? Did they grow up? Did they have
prior to
some?
the killings, the leader, Robin, and I'm not sure if this is how you pronounce his last name, Gecht or Jecht. Let's say for argument's sake, let's say Gecht. He was employed at PDM Contractors, which coincidentally was owned by none other than John Wayne Gacy. Shocker, you know. Yeah,
Hold the phone. Okay. Yeah, he by himself is a whole chapter.
yeah. We'll get to him in a further episode or two. Yeah. And before he even worked there, Gecht was also accused of molesting his own sister. In 1981, and in 81, actually May 23rd of 81, the crew abducted their first known victim, a prostitute named Linda Sutton. Her body was found 10 days later after police responded to a call about a bad smell at a motel outside Chicago. Initially believing that the smell was coming from a dead deer, police found Sutton's body in a field behind the motel. She had been handcuffed, stabbed, mutilated, and her left breast amputated. Now, this is a big point because the majority, if not all, of the women had some sort of, you know, damage done to their breasts.
disfiguring,
Say again?
disfiguring mutilation.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was the body was so, I guess after how many days they could only identify her through digital and dental records. She was 20 years old, and yeah, it's a shame. So now, despite efforts to identify the killer, obviously, the case went cold. Now, a year later, they started it on May 15th, 1982. They abducted another woman, Lorraine Borowski. She was discovered 5 months later in a cemetery in Clarendon Hills. Okay. Now,
So I guess she was about to open up a realtor's office, and I guess she disappeared.
yeah, and the funny thing is, like, at that point, while they were investigating the case, there was the detective. They tried to get a hypnotist called John Milner to hypnotize several people who were at the area at the time of Lorraine's disappearance. Now, one of them recalled seeing a red van at the mall parking lot, but this turned up to be nothing. Yeah, well, I mean, and of course, the like I said, the case went cold, and go to 4 months later, the gang abducted another woman, Shui Mack.
From Hanover Park.
There you go. And she was found 4 months later. Then we go to Angel, York. She was abducted 2 weeks later after Mack and was handcuffed and her breast slashed before throwing her out of the van. Now, why did they do that when their whole,
I just want to pardon the audience. I'm sorry, we should have done this earlier.
yes,
It's going to get seriously graphic in here.
you're
And so,
ever mind. So yes, so
yeah, and
warning,
so,
trigger
just
warning, and all that good stuff.
be aware.
Yes,
Exactly. If you to be aware, and we want to inform you because we are sensitive to any viewers and listeners out there who this might overstep the comfort level that they're used to. We're going to triple jump through that comfort level. So, should you wish to maybe tune into another beer episode or something we've done, that's great. But just fair warning, we're going to get graphic because that is the nature of this topic for today.
yeah.
Proceed with caution.
So yeah,
Yes,
back to Angel York, and after she survived, she obviously gave a description of the attackers. Now, what would drive them to throw her out of the van and not, if they went out and they did all these bad things to the other women and she survived?
well, here's the thing. We know post fact that they are into some deep twisted shit.
Yes.
Where they also drugs involved because if you're inebriated in any way, whether it be legal like alcohol, illegal coke, at the time I'm sure dust, LSD, you name it, you you're not within your capacities and your faculties.
Right.
It sounds great.
Let's not defend that. We don't know that if that was
Right.
the case, you know what I mean? So
Because it also seems like as crazy of the stuff they were involved in, it doesn't seem like they were threatening the Nobel Prize.
no, they did not seem, because it was which I neglected to mention. We should I guess not to give them any more publicity, but just for facts. The leader was Robin Geck, like I said, and his accomplices were Edward Spritzer and brothers Andrew and Thomas Corrales. I probably mangled that, but yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters at this point. But yeah, and so after Angel York, then you had Sandra Delaware. I think it was approximately 2 months later. She was discovered in the bank of the Chicago River. Same thing, slashed, stabbed, left breast. Also, Rose Davis, September 4th in an alley, same injuries as Delaware. Beverly Washington, found by the railroad on December 6th. Same thing with her left breast, was having amputated, and her right had been severely slashed. She survived and gave also descriptions. Now, this is where nothing to matter. She was a prostitute, but she was found by railroad track, like I said before, able to give a description of the men who attacked her and their van. Here was when Gecht was eventually arrested and was almost released because of lack of evidence. Now, again, this is where we harken back. It's the 70s, and 80s, early 80s, where, obviously, it's a hell of a lot different now. No cameras and anything, of that sort. And even then, these geniuses still got caught, thankfully.
Well, yeah, as the police had investigated here, Geck had rented a motel
Mm-hmm.
near where the first murder was, and in 1981. And the motel he had rented with three friends, and each with adjoining rooms. So you figure, they blocked out a whole section of motels.
Whole section of the motel.
Yeah, and the hotel manager said that they held loud parties and appeared to be involved in some kind of cult. Which you want to slap the manager in the face and be like, "Are you serious, bro?"
Yeah,
I mean,
it's funny, not funny, haha, but it's fascinating how after the fact you hear these stories and and things could have been changed for obviously the better, and it could have been stopped if people would just use some little common sense. They would have just added one to one.
so the police tracked down the other men, and when interrogating the one
Brothers.
of the Corrales brothers, Thomas, he had confessed that he and others had taken the women back to Geck's place, which what Geck referred to as the Satanic Chapel.
Yep,
Need I say more?
exactly. If that does not pick up red flags everywhere, blue flags, green flags, all kinds of flags. Yeah, it's
Oh my goodness. I mean, they raped and tortured women and amputated their breasts with a wire carrot. I guess a wire, some kind of
yeah.
device.
Yeah. They would what they would do is spray to the Caradas. They would drive around the city in their van, such as victims. When they found a potential victim, primarily prostitutes, unfortunately, they would take them to the apartment where, like you said, called the Satanic Chapel, where they'll be beaten, tortured, raped, and mutilated in ritualistic ways, such as stabbing, strangling, shooting, or even hacking with an axe. Then Gak would read passages of the Satanic Bible as his partners brutally killed the women. In every case, they would remove the victim's breast with a, like I said, wire garrote while she was still alive, masturbate into the flesh, wow, chop it into pieces, and devour it. Wow. Okay. After killing them, they would dump the bodies in alleys, under bridges, and in forests located in the outskirts of the city. That's some. That's some. That's some. Wow. Okay.
Well, okay, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there's some disturbing issues after the trial. But
Yes. Do tell.
well, they while they confessed to the and Spritzer confessed to their crimes, Geck protested his innocence. So Geck remained firm that he was innocent. After a series of trials, Thomas was convicted of murder, but only sentenced to life imprisonment as a reward for his confession. Since then, his life sentence has been commuted. God, pray tell, judicial system, are you serious?
Yeah. In
I mean,
2019, Thomas was released on
yes.
parole. Oh,
So, you guys out there, I mean, this is now morphing into a public service. Thomas Cocorales, after participating in these events, I don't give a shit if it's in 1981. He did these things.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to make a statement in my beliefs that there's no way in hell somebody is rehabilitatable after participating in that. I don't care if it was 50, 100, 200 years ago.
I mean,
Mm,
I mean, 16. I mean, 16 to 18 people, 3 to 4 attempted. Then he gets released on parole while his brother gets lethal injection.
yeah, what kind of soul is this guy? Soulless. I mean, I don't understand why he's even on parole. Really don't. Um, Gecht is serving 360-year terms,
That's it.
basically life in the Menard Correctional Center. 120-year sentence. Someone explain to me why Gecht does not get the lethal.
I guess technically, and this is, I haven't, my guess would be was that as the mastermind, maybe technically he did not do the, you know, not to be crude, but
None of the deeds. He just
none of the graphic stuff. He kind of was in charge, and it was his place. So he just told them what to do. Now,
wow.
would
It's crazy.
would just what drives someone, you know, I don't know.
Wow. I mean, after serving half of his 70-year sentence, he is released from prison. Sorry, that was just
Maybe he did I don't know.
all right. So, is there any more further background knowledge as to how Geck got involved in this in the first place?
Look, there's a
That
bunch of videos and a bunch of interviews on how he claims his innocence and how even the brothers talk about how people think that they're monsters and they're not, which is insane, you know.
for that alone, um, I think lethal is merciful. I mean, I am fully aware of the laws and the progressive society we live in to rehabilitate and blah blah blah. No, but I'm gonna call what it is what it is. You can't participate in one of these actions and be talked to and counseled. That's a load of shit. To go on to 18 that we know of or speculated of,
Well,
there
yeah,
could be way more than this.
who
But
knows?
but it becomes academic. After the first one, why I get it if there is a sense of what if we're wrong about it? Let's keep them alive until evidence comes out later. I get that part. 18? 8 multiple
Yeah.
with irrefutable evidence and confessions and descriptions from an attacker who survived? A positive ID from a victim? You got to be kidding me. Now, what? Now, that's another topic for another day. But what channels an individual
See, but
down this road?
I, no idea. But again, he, you have to blame the justice system to a degree because, all right, Kokoridis was convicted of the 82 slaying of Lorraine Lori Amborowski, okay, which we already spoke about. A judge sentenced him to life in prison, rejecting the prosecutor's request for the death penalty. But a state
Go
appeals court reversed the
victim's family.
conviction in 1986, citing legal errors. Are you effing kidding me? The court ordered a new trial, but Kokoridis instead pleaded guilty in exchange for a 70-year prison term.
I don't know. I
Insane.
don't see, I don't see how you can bargain any of this stuff. So, did the media dub them the Ripper Crew? Is that what it was?
Well, yeah, I mean that's of course, because they
Sensationalism at its
that's
finest.
kind of you know classicist, obviously, but you wouldn't be able to freaking say that stuff now. But yeah,
Has there been any correlation or communication or influence or whatever between John Wayne Gacy and at
people
least
try to compare them, but
but he worked for him, so there it's quite possible in the realm of dealings on a daily basis, everyday basis, even just association, where maybe one can influence the other or lead them, introduce them
yeah,
down this path. What you do with it, I don't know, but here's a book of Satanic Bible. We don't know the extent of their interaction, do we?
let's see. All right, and then
I mean, he
people.
worked for him, which was crazy. Like,
I mean, is it
there's a little too
just
much
a
smoke there.
coincidence, or was it? Yeah. Get claims that he's innocent of the murders, innocent of any murder for that matter, and that he didn't even know the other members when most of the victims were killed. "Quote unquote, first mistake is considering me a serial killer. I am not considered one. I never have killed or took part in any such acts, nor ever charged in any murders of anyone." So that is,
Well, there you go. It's your classic no honor among thieves. In this case, cannibals and satanic
and when
worshippers.
they asked him about what a why is he obsessed with women's breasts,
Right.
he goes, as to your question about having sex with breasts, I have no real obsession with breasts in that form. Only a very sick person would even think that. Edward Spritzer, Gecht's alleged partner, claims that Robin once became so furious with his wife that he cut off her nipples. There's got to be way more to that, which we'll probably never know. Jesus. And it goes deeper, which I'm not even going to read about what they did. I mean, we've already, you know, went through all that. But Jesus, crazy. And by that
Well,
time, many women have come forward with nature of the tortures they had Robert Gett had inflicted on them. Most of these tortures, including some form of breast mutilation with needles and knives. Several women said Gett had asked them to cut off their own nipples because Robin wanted to see how they worked. Not surprisingly, Robin denies this. He actually tried to obtain DNA testing that he is certain that will clear him of all charges. Obviously, he was unsuccessful since he's still in prison. Well, I don't only face the injustices, but the nightmares that follow. You have no idea the pain and hurt, and I feel every single day to sit here and lose hope. I'm not an angel, but I never intentionally hurt anyone unless it was to protect myself or my family. I could never live with killing or knowing I was responsible for and taking anyone's life. What a POS. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And it goes on and on and on. So
well, as it plays out, of course, there's finger pointing and doubt among each one of them. Other than the confessions, Robin adamantly to this day denies any dealings with the murders, rape, mutilation, all of the above. Um, One was lethally injected. The brother is out because of the confession, and the other one is still behind bars. I guess what we get out of this is that it was very fortunate that that one survivor was able to not only positively ID the van and uh, those involved in the
Yeah.
gang, because if that had not happened, who's to say they ever get caught? You know? And I'm just curious. It's hard to find any of the details. I'm just curious. Should investigation should have went deep into getting back to Geck's place and sweeping it full of DNA and everything? Because if they raped, murdered, and mutilated, there should be blood like Dexter's wet dream all over the place. Where you be collecting samples everywhere. This because of just the nature of who they are. You cannot tell me they're on their hands and knees hours later with Clorox and bleach and stripping everything and
No,
taking the lining of,
they seem like they were
of
not type at all to even like it goes deeper. I'm just reading an excerpt from when they found out that he worked at Gacy's place, and he showed no remorse or any weirdness about Gacy's, what he did. And he just says that Gacy messed up, as opposed to that it wasn't wrong what he did. It was wrong that he got caught because he messed up, basically.
right.
More than not. So these guys they knew what they were doing. It says he was already doing, he was already into, you know, um, Satanism and secret rituals already, in his early teens already,
So again, this is not isolated event. The
no,
pockets of gang activity. It's been shown through psychology and psychiatrists in a bevy of thesis and paperwork and research. The gang mentality. It's very, very, very hard for a loner to commit crimes this heinous and be successful in the sense of there's a pride factor, there's a following factor, there's a cheering on factor, there's a gang pack wolves mentality that kind of takes over, and then you're proud, you want to show off, you can make a kill, or you compare, and it's very
yeah. I
competitive.
mean, it's like the whole thing with the serial killer. What their whole thing is not. Eventually, they want people to know what's going on.
Right.
It's not.
The rare exception is the Ted Bundy.
Yes.
The I have done everything on my own and I love it. I don't need the fame and fortune. I know for myself that I can get away with X, Y, and Z. I did all this stuff. I'm very proud of it. Even at the end, though, he still had confessed a whole lot because he was proud. So, but that is the really rare, totally disturbed individual
Yeah.
with a deep social disassociative personality. This is kind of like a confluence of, like, they're using the satanic stuff as a moral green light, you know, like they wanted to do this crazy weird stuff anyway. They wanted to do this debauchery anyway, under the guise of the satanic thing. It made it okay, I guess.
Exactly. They were looking for justification to do
Yeah, I'm just presuming here.
this
It seems
these depraved,
it's no
things.
it's no different than, say, the Manson. If we can get into that on another topic, the gang, the Manson gang, and any other cults too out there. Everyone should be wary of. Are you following like sheep because it's giving you a green light to do some really fucked up shit, or are you really buying into this crazy mentality? And you see it everywhere. So I can't. It's to this extent. Heck no. I hope not for our and our loved ones' well-being, that there's misguided fools. In a sense, it's better and faster and easier today because, I mean, it's harder today because of all the cameras, social media, and it's harder to commit these crimes. Thank goodness. It's unfortunate, and my heart goes out to those 18 plus victims.
Right.
That, I mean, it's just chilling to think about their last moments and how they ended up from B to the grave. I mean,
And these sickos who got off on that and who thought it justified and who still to this point serving 120 years would not admit to their wrongdoing. Not so much for them. I don't give a shit, for to forgive them or for them to have peace. But just to admit for the families so they can, you know what I mean?
well, it still burns me. Chicago, you got it all wrong. It burns me that one of them even got out. I don't give a hoot if he confessed to every detail. Then you have life in prison. The rest of the three, you can go get the injection. Hell, that is so merciful. I would mutilate them. I'm sorry, I'm going off the rails here. There is not a punishment equitable. And it's just, for me, it's proof that it's a waste of resources and funding. What do they say? The average criminal costs $100,000 and change to keep them alive every year. Why? I get it.
That's a loaded question, man. That's for another episode.
All right, yeah. You know what? Yeah, Rocka's world's a different world, and I'm gonna keep that to the vest. All right. I'm just gonna say one thing. I'm just gonna plug one thing, and that's it. And I'm gonna move on from this. Charles Bronson and the Death Wish trilogy. Actually, 4. But Death Wish 4 was kind of crazy, but Charles. Rest in peace, Charles.
Okay. And not that garbage Bruce Willis Drek that
No, I'm sorry. The what? Exactly. All right. So that was a good deep dive into the ugly, treacherous, twisted, demented world of the occult and how it can warp so many lives. And please refrain from the misguided garbage that is out there.
Yeah. If you guys did enjoy this deep dive and we can, get deeper and get more cases and talk about, more stuff, and just let us know, on our podcast, on our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, let us know we're crazy, whatever, it works.
Thanks all for listening. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll keep coming to you with more case studies similar to this and others, and anything that your hearts desire.
Or it doesn't desire, but you want to hear anyway. I'm Izzy.
Indeed. I'm Raka. Have a good evening, folks, and thanks for tuning in. Save the whales.
Save the whales. Take care.